I'm Myke Shrews,
And I'm Tivis,
and you're listening to
the Munster Cast.
episode 50. Holy moly, we're there already. Welcome back, everybody, to the Munster Cast, the podcast where we watch and talk about the Munsters. I am, of course, your host, Myke Shrews, here with my co-host and friend Tivis. So, Tivis, how are you doing today, my man?
Pretty good.
Cool. I realized last week that I totally forgot to do the podcast where we watch and talk about the Munsters part when we started. So apologies, guys, if you were like me listening back and being like, oh, he missed it. What the hell? Oh shit. All right. Anyways, guys, welcome back to the Munster Cast. And what do we got going today? Shilling. I guess we should shill the dirty business, everybody. Find the Munster Cast on all social media platforms via Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at the Munster Cast. And you can find our pretty ugly faces over on YouTube via youtube.com/at the Munster Cast. Or if you just want to go to one place to find everything all at once, go to themunstercast.com. And there you can find everything that we are doing, saying, and all that fun stuff. Even our tweets go to our website. So you can check that all out over there, guys. And then, of course, if you want to purchase a shirt or anything like that, you can go to munstercast.com/merch. We got some shirts over there specifically designed for y'all, the Munsters fans out there, not just fans of the podcast, but all Munsters fans out there. And then lastly, you can also go and email us at themunstercast@outlook.com. And that way we can hear from you guys directly. You can also contact us on social media, but you can also email us again at themunstercast@outlook.com. And there you can let us know your Munster stories, your fandom stories, anything, whatever you feel brought you towards the Munsters, or your feelings with the Munster family and products that we've gotten so far and that we've discussed as well. And also, if you want to show up on the show and talk about the Munsters for a little bit one day or something like that, so we can get you booked and
Myke
scheduled
has
to come on.
a mic set up on the website for you to record yourself if you want to use
Yep.
voice stuff.
Yeah.
And also, we have our Patreon, which again, pretty much just a tip jar. What really matters, leave us a review, tell a friend. That stuff matters so much more to us.
Yes, it does. Definitely does. The more people that hear us, the more we get to spread our fandom of the Munsters to everybody. Not just our fandom, but all y'all's fandom out there that love the Munsters. And maybe then, the world will see we need more Munsters content. I'm surprised we haven't had a Munsters TV show yet, like our animated TV show, I should say, a full on. So
yeah,
like we watched the mini
Munsters,
Munsters, but
I
you
think that
would
was
think
a good proof of concept because I think that would have worked really well for kids. I don't understand why they didn't go forward with it, honestly.
Honestly, I think after the Munsters Today came out, as it won 3 Emmys, people, you would think that they would have done like a 90s cartoon of the Munsters, because cartoons were big in the 90s for that stuff, where you're taking something that was already live action and just animated it. I mean, shit. How many cartoons did we get of Jim Carrey's movies? We got The Mask, we got Ace Ventura. Like any movie Jim Carrey was in, we got a animated series of it in the 90s. Yeah. So hopefully Rob Zombie's movie and everybody talking about the Munsters will get Hollywood to be like, hey, maybe we should make an animated show.
Just so the listeners know, I'm drinking cucumber Gatorade because that's all we have in our house right now. So, I am not prepared for it this early in the morning, but here we go.
Awesome. Anyways, I think that's all we have for dirty business. For shilling and all that stuff, guys. So without further ado, I would like to actually read one review real quick of the Munsters Today that I just saw right before we started recording. Just because it made me kind of happy. I was like, oh, sweet. And it's from November, so it's only a couple months old. November 28th, 2022. This person left this one. It says, after watching a few episodes, I have to say the show stands on its own. No comparison to the original. You get to fall in love with the family all over again. A very good show, not just a rehash of the original. So that's something cool to look forward to, especially if you guys have never seen the Munsters Today and you're watching along with us via our Discord, which Tivis forgot to mention. When you join the Patreon, you get to join the Discord, which is where we will be putting these episodes in there so that people can watch along with us as we are going along there. So and I think that's
I
it.
keep forgetting we actually have incentive now.
It's not really an incentive. It's just like the only way to really do it so that people watch this stuff. Don't want to, can't put it on YouTube. You can't put all the episodes on YouTube.
Yeah.
And yeah, but hopefully later down the road we'll have more information from one of our connections on where we could possibly all watch the show moving forward. So we'll figure that out once we know more information, guys. And with that all said, my phone is not charging and it's killing me, dude. It's like on 1%, and I kind of need it. All right, so let's dive on into the first episode, the first official episode of the Munsters Today, which is awesome that it landed with episode
Our
number
50th.
yeah, our 50th anniversary, everybody. Yeah. So that's awesome. I really like that things land and things line up for us just randomly somehow all the time with this shit, and it's pretty cool. Oh, I hear a semi backing up. They're
I don't
dropping
hear
stuff
anything.
off
So.
at my house today. All right, so let's dive on into episode 1, the Munsters Today, Vampire
Pie.
Oh man, Vampire Pie, October 8th, 1988, everybody. And we discussed this real quick. We're going to switch this up. I'm actually going to give the synopsis before Tivis dives on into all of his stuff.
Which would have made sense many episodes ago, but whatever.
Who cares? All right, guys. So the synopsis for Vampire Pie. Herman decides to become a Munster chef in order to win a cooking contest, but two problems arise. One, Marilyn is dating one of the judge's sons, and Grandpa discovers that one of Herman's ingredients causes regular folks to go a little quacky. You all right there?
No, it's gross. So this episode was directed by Norman Abbott. You remember him, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's back. I was expecting a bit more reaction from you. This was
everybody out there is like hurraying at their car radio right now. Oh my God, no! Oh no! Oh, that's awesome.
We have this episode was written by Barbara Berkowitz. And she's only done like a handful of things. Like she did an episode of the 77 What's Happening, an episode of 79 Happy Days, What's Happening Now, The Facts of Life, Safe at Home, and The Munsters Today are literally all of her writing credits. We have
so Norman was 6. Sorry, Norman Abbott was 66 then when he directed this first episode, which is kind of ironic as the show ended in 66, the original show. So just saying.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, go on.
I far out where I was. We got a new Marilyn. Hilary Van Dyke will be taking over the role. Possibly for now. We'll see. I hear rumblings, but I'm not sure. It may have already happened with the pilot between now, but Yeah, like I said, we'll see. The only two credits given in this episode are Mary Codoret as Dee Dee Nelson, and she's got quite a CV, as they call them. She was in 22 episodes of Three's a Crowd, all 22 of those. She's been on Love Boat. We're gonna see her in a couple more episodes of this. She was on 2 episodes of Who's the Boss, 4 of Night Court. So, recognizable person if you watched shows around this era. And then we got Scott Reeves as Dustin Nelson. Now, he's been on 20 episodes of Days of Our Lives. Again, we'll be back for a couple more episodes of this show. Let's see. Just
He
doing a
looked
quick
very familiar, so I wasn't sure what I've seen him in. I didn't look
he
any of
was
these
on
people up, so
over 500 episodes of The Young and the Restless, if you watch that.
probably.
Between 91 and 2001.
And General Hospital, so I know that was on when I was a kid.
An episode of King of Queens and Touched by an Angel.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, Friday the 13th. Jason Takes Manhattan. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Oh, I haven't seen that one, honestly.
I have. That's why I was like, I've seen this dude somewhere.
Yeah, you just watched all the Fridays, didn't you?
No, we just did all the Halloween movies.
Oh, it was just
with
Halloween.
my kid, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Oldest kid, I should say. So people aren't out to be like, you're letting your little kid watch this.
I mean, if you were, it's none of their business. You know your kids better than they do.
My kid's maturity levels is all that matters. Anyways.
So, shall we dive in?
Yes, let's dive on in, sir.
All right. So we open with the new intro, and the song is already stuck in my head. How about you?
Apparently, I knew the song before, so I'm not sure if I had heard the song previously.
Yeah, you started singing it last
or what, right? I like the intro's fun. It's a very 80s intro, very cheap 80s intro, I should say. Because it's like somebody did the jingle for the show, and then they just had the actors mouth the words, "We're the monsters," and they mouth it so badly too.
I have to say, after this, the shot from outside the house with the original score, like you know that was Norman. It's like, we have to put this in.
Yeah. And I'm curious if some of those things outside, because we never see anybody outside this house so far in this first episode. So I'm curious if that's stock footage of the old house, or if they
it
actually
looked like the new house, because the fence looked very different from what I remember. Yeah.
Okay.
So right. I'm pretty sure they're using a new place by now.
Yeah.
Do you want to look up where the original house is right now in the late 80s, what it was repurposed for?
Oh yeah, I can check.
All right. So we start with Herman pushing Lily around on a ladder while she's dusting the chandelier. She's telling him where to go, and he always gets confused from, left and right, which I do as well. So I can't exactly make fun of him. My wife always gets mad at me. We're turning left here, right? Excuse me. Grandpa doesn't understand why she's doing it. He's holding a cat, by the way, which is clearly a puppet. Like, he's got his arms crossed like a Dracula, but this hand is like inside of a cat that he's just moving around. Real weird. Is this the new kitty? But yeah, he says that she's just gonna have to do it again in 50 years time, and she says she likes the way the cobwebs shine, and then she breathes on it like it's metal.
It looks like the house after production had ceased on the Munsters Today, appeared in many. Wait. The house fell into a state of severe disrepair by the 1987, was unable to be used for the original TV pilot of the Munsters Today. Stock footage was again used from Munsters Go Home, which I said for the pilot.
Okay.
The house after production had ceased on the Munsters Today.
So it
appeared
just
in
wasn't used during this
many
time at all.
TV films. I mean, it was in The Burbs because they used that whole street for The Burbs. If anyone doesn't know The Burbs, it's like one of Tom Hanks's like best movies ever. I know a lot of film people out there would disagree, but
Says the guy who hasn't seen Castaway,
oh,
which is
who
something I learned just
cares?
yesterday.
Who cares? The Burbs has freaking Tom Hanks and Corey Feldman and Carrie Fisher and Bruce Dern and come on now, like Henry Gibson. Anyways, it was used for The Burbs, Dragnet, and on the TV series Coach. Oh, I didn't know it was in Coach. That's kind of cool. In the mid 2000s for the second season of Desperate Housewives, we all knew it was in Desperate Housewives, of course. But the architecture was
Yeah.
changed a lot in there. So it says the house after production had ceased on Munsters Today. So yeah, they still used it for this show.
Did they? I thought it said that it was in disrepair and couldn't be used.
In 87 was unable to be used for the original TV pilot of the Munsters Today.
Oh, okay. So maybe they did fix it up for this show.
Yeah. Or they just left it looking like shit because it didn't matter.
Maybe.
Producers of Munster Today felt the well-known Munster's house was just as important as the characters, so an authentic scale model replica was built for the series to accompany the limited color stock footage from the Munsters Go Home. There you go. Scale
See,
model
I
worked
knew that
well on
fence
the
looked a little
show,
odd.
and many did not know this. It was not the same house. The garden was
I did.
decorated with dried oregano. There are some slight differences between the original house and the scale model used for the new show. Seen from the front, the gates are now directly in front of the porch, as Tivis says, as opposed to slightly to the right. The gate posts are also dramatically smaller and less bulky than in the original. And around the perimeter, instead of a wall, are yet more posts and spiked fencing in between for several intervals, somewhat similar to what is seen in 64 color pilot. There's also there's also a small arched basement window that looks down into Grandpa's lab. Today, this model can be seen in Universal's new House of Horrors. A virtual tour of the Munster Mansion is available on the Munsters Today Information Archives website, along with the show's career across film and TV history. There you go. So it's all a replica. Every exterior shot you're going to see is a replica.
So I wonder if that means we're not going to get any outside activities, at least not in the front yard.
Right, not in the front. I mean, if they do it in the back, they have to show us the moat, don't they? Since they already, well, that was in the pilot.
They
so
don't have to do anything.
The TV movies that utilize different Munster Mansion variations, such as Here Come the Munsters and the Munster Scary Little Christmas. Of course, we know those were completely different.
Yeah.
Things. So yeah, at least the creators of the Munsters Today felt it was worthwhile to at least make a scale model of the house to make it feel like it is. So that's cool, and it's probably why we get these different angles in this first episode, because they're like all side angles and stuff.
Yeah.
So, but they also did use some of the colored footage from the Munsters Go Home film and shit like that, some stock footage that they had. So that's pretty cool.
That is cool.
The work that went into that, man, that's nifty. Anyway,
so at this point, Marilyn walks in. And first impressions of the new actress?
I didn't really have any impressions of her, like her appearance or anything like that, if that's what you mean. I thought that she did a great.
I meant the way she delivered her lines and stuff during what we're about to discuss.
It's very Brady Bunchy, honestly.
It was. I have to say, I think Hillary is much better of an actress than Mary. I'm sorry, Mary.
Is that the girl who played her in the pilot?
Yeah, she was.
Well, she wasn't. Stiff. She didn't go. Whoa, woof, whoa, 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 whoa.
Oh, what the hell was that?
That's no one
got back to us, so I guess we'll never know. Oh God. Anyway, so she comes in. Yeah, she's in love. Herman immediately says the boy isn't good enough, which is stark contrast to the original show, because at this point they would be like, marry him now.
Yeah, that's what I said in my notes. There's a lot of things like Herman is usually trying to get rid of her. So yeah. When we get to it, it's in my notes. I wrote something that I thought might possibly make up for that reasoning, so we'll see. But she does say something. She says,
yeah,
she says
my goose.
he cooked my goose, and I'm just thinking, in the 80s, I know that means what they know what it means.
Oh, okay, because Herman freaks out. Like, I'm sorry, what?
No, that's Grandpa. Grandpa's like, wait, what?
No, Herman does, and Grandpa goes, cooking.
Oh yeah. Oh, and okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
Herman starts. Oh, go ahead.
Go.
Well, I was gonna say Herman starts laughing at the. What the hell is that actually a phrase from the 80s? You got me all distracted now. I thought that was just a dumb joke. Cooked my goose.
It's a sexual thing.
Is it really?
He got it all hot and bothered. Yeah.
I've never heard that.
That's
As a 90s child, it must have passed me by. Anyway, so Herman begins laughing and mocking that a boy knows how to cook. You know what? This joke, so stupid. I cook for my wife every chance I can. So,
well, you gotta remember, they're from the 60s. The show was made in the 80s, so they still have somewhat of that 60s mindset.
Yeah, well, I agree with what Lily says, which is it's about damn time.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is like one of the things that I wrote down. I wrote it down in a note for something else that Herman says, but like it seems that Herman is more one, protective of Marilyn, as we see in this show, but he also it kind of makes sense for an 80s show. So I'm kind of wondering how far, because they don't tell you in this episode or anything, like how long have they been awake in the 80s now, because like we have the unfortunate disservice of, well, we watched the pilot, no one else watched the pilot when the show came out, so it's like we have that information, so we're like, okay, so we'll just push that whole episode aside.
Which
so
we didn't talk about. They summed that up in the intro. Do you think they did a good job summing up that story?
I thought so. The song does it.
Too.
Yeah. They did a pretty decent job of summing up with the song and everything. But so I feel like I'm like, how long have they been awake in the 80s to see like if Herman's been influenced by the other dad figures and stuff like that in the world to be more protective and stuff. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Caring and as we see in the episode, he's more into being like, okay, I'll figure this out, Lily. Like, let me learn how to cook, you know.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that. Let's see. Marilyn says that his mom is a professional Epicurean.
Yeah.
I can't pronounce that word. So I only have this for my trivia, so I'm just going to say it now. Epicureanism. I'm never going to get this right. It's based on the teachings of the Greek philosopher Epicurus. Basically, it's divided into two categories. You get pleasure of the body and pleasure of the mind. Now, pleasures of the body invoke sensations such as eating food, being in a state of comfort free from pain, and to exist. It only exists in the present, the here and now. Whereas pleasures of the mind, it is feelings of joy, lack of fear, pleasant memories like nostalgia, and they do not exist in the present. You can only think of them as past tense or possible futures, like, my future is going to be so good going down this path, stuff like that. So I never heard about this until this show, so I kind of went down a rabbit hole with this stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah, Herman gets freaked out again by this comment, and this is when Grandpa actually annoyingly tells him she's a chef.
Yeah.
And
And
then
that's what. Oh, go on.
no, you finish.
No, go on.
That's when we learned that she's going to be judging this cooking contest coming up. So yeah,
Yeah.
that
That's right.
that word sent me down such a rabbit hole. I can't.
I was looking at a list of other things, sorry, that the house appeared in. Apparently it was in the 70s Hulk TV
Yeah,
show.
we talked about that way back
Did
when.
we?
Yeah,
Oh, I don't remember that.
yeah, it's one of the few things I remember.
I need to go back and re-listen to the whole like first 2 seasons of the podcast.
So just
Yep, we're doing it. All right, let's move forward. So go on.
let's see. You got any thoughts about all that exchange?
Uh, Not really. It seemed like just their basic banter.
Shut up. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Herman begins complaining that he doesn't like change, that things should stay the way they are, and I agree for the most part. Stop changing things, damn it.
you're becoming an old man.
I've always felt this way, but also I'm like, get rid of the old. Screw it. It's bad.
Change everything, but don't change anything at all.
Yeah, I'm very conflicted as a person. So Lily tells him to be more open-minded, and he tells her his mind is open, or is an open book. Grandpa tells him Dr. Seuss doesn't count. Marilyn tells Herman that he is behind the times. Herman gets indignant, says he can be as hip as anyone else, and says that he is learning to cook and winning this contest.
Yeah, I really would have liked to see them go more into like the fact that they're from the 60s, to give them a little bit more of a transformation as the show develops, which I'm
Out of
sure we'll
time type
see.
feel.
Yeah. Or
I
because
think that's what they're
the
kind of going for here, but
I think of anybody who would be the harder one to change
it's
would
Grandpa.
possibly is Grandpa. Yeah,
absolutely what I was thinking while watching this.
yeah. Herman, I think he just does whatever the heck anybody says to him, anyways.
To be fair, Grandpa doesn't input a lot of his thoughts into this. So, I mean, he could be thinking this whole thing. He kind of just standing there looking mildly annoyed at all of this.
Yeah.
All right. So we get transition to the kitchen. Lily is scratching Spot's tail, which we have a new Spot prop. He's a bit more spiky than he used to be. Maybe they didn't manicure him because, they were gone for how many years? 22 years.
Yeah, 22.
But Herman comes in with a ton of garbage, basically shopping bags from the store, bragging about how he got a great deal on the stuff that anyone could get for free, pretty much. So he got ripped off.
Holy crap! Sorry, I'm like sidestepping all throughout this time era here. In the 88, they had the campaign because, of course, they already said Reagan in the pilot. But I'm looking at here and everything that was up for like the campaign and stuff. Delaware Senator Joe Biden. There's so much. Holy crap, that guy's so old.
Yeah. Yeah. Seems like we want a lot of people at death's door running our freaking country, but
anyways,
that's a whole other topic.
No, I was just trying to see if they were gonna like do any like really, because Grandpa was very into the political realm in the one episode. Remember when he tried to rig the elections? Yep. So I was like, are they gonna do that again? That would be kind of fun. Have him perfect.
It would be interesting. I
look
know
forward to watching
political
all this
charges
stuff.
In the 80s, though.
Because you had
it
Bush
might have been
and all
a
that
bit
stuff.
more volatile than it was in the 60s. Because it's only gotten worse.
George Bush suffered from a reputation as a wimp who, in 22 years of public life as a former representative, U.S. ambassador. Holy shit! Never
I
mind.
know we
Okay.
gave ourselves more time to go on rabbit holes,
Yes,
but
let's go.
let's get off this topic.
I'm
So,
learning, man.
Lily tells Spot to go out and play and avoid strangers. He huffs in response, and she gets upset and then yells at him.
Mhm.
Grandpa begins trying to get Herman to stop for humanity's sake.
Is this when he was bringing groceries in?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
And then you
so
missed Marilyn's doing like a Cosmo quiz.
well, no, it was about yeah, she
Okay.
comes in with a magazine quiz, and
Yeah.
she's like, hey, so we got to do this quiz to find out if I should get the guy who I like to ask me out or not, which is like she's acclimating to the 80s so well.
Right. She does it so well too. But yeah, she does the Cosmo quiz basically of like, is your man like, what would you do for your man type thing? Not what would you do for your man, but like, is your man worth it or some shit like that? Those stupid quizzes all the time. Like,
Yeah.
because you should really, keep your love life based on a quiz from a magazine.
Can we
That
talk
makes
about
sense, women.
the classic oversized jacket that she's wearing, which will be a fad for many more years to come?
Oh, yeah, the 80s jackets. Yeah.
Yeah. They'll just go to like Letterman jackets and shit like that for the 90s. But it sticks around for quite some time.
Very she would fit perfectly into Saved by the Bell.
So there's a line coming up here. Let's see. While she's talking to Lily, Herman keeps bringing in more and more bags in the background.
Yeah.
Grandpa just says, let me make a love potion like I did for Madonna. Would he know Madonna? They've been
Well,
asleep for 22 years.
again, that would require us to know how long they've been
Yeah,
awake.
that's true. You already, yeah.
But she was Madonna was born in 58. I don't know when she didn't get popular though until the 80s.
I have no idea. I know nothing about Madonna other than she's ancient and apparently living off some curse that she put on herself.
She started in 80,
Like the Rolling Stones.
82 she was signed. Yeah, she was signed in 82. So I mean, we don't know what Grandpa's been doing. They do live in California, so he could have been just
Yeah.
hanging out wherever and
As
got
far as we
her
know, they still are in California.
right. Which this would have lined up. Well, no, 'cause she was married to Sean Penn before then. Before 88. So I don't know. Anyways, moving forward.
Yeah.
I don't want to dive into
So
Madonna's history.
Marilyn declines, and Grandpa says, that's fine. He just wanted to help, and that is his specialty, and rushes out of the room upset.
Yeah.
Lily and Marilyn begin taking the quiz, and Herman continues to bring in more and more bags. The second question, what was it?
No, go on.
The second question, if he tries to kiss in the first date, is he Mr. Right or Mr. Fast? Herman overhears this and says, he's Mr. Dead if I catch him. They're just so, we already touched on this, but they're so much more protective over Marilyn. And it's extremely nice to see in contrast to how they treated her in the 60s.
Yeah.
But
you don't hear any ugly jokes yet in this first episode, so
no. Yeah. They were basically, throwing her at guys that came into the house, pretty much.
Yeah.
Any guy that came in the house, they're like, marry her.
Even the creepers, like the guys who were like possible serial killers and shit.
Do you remember that fucking creep that like constantly kept trying to kiss her and she kept like, no?
Yeah.
I think that was the last episode with the original Marilyn.
The sad thing is, like, you're watching that, and at the time it was supposed to be a funny thing, but when you think about it, it's like really fucked up.
Yeah, it is. Again, this goes with, the past should be destroyed type thing. Kylo was right. So Marilyn asks, a good question about when is the first kiss appropriate. And I'm honest with you, I think Lily gives the best advice. You'll know if it's right or not.
Yeah.
Because I was sitting here thinking about like, oh God, I don't know. It's different for each person. And then she says that, I'm like, yeah, all right, that's the best answer you can give.
Now, are we supposed to be on the assumption though that this is her first kiss? Because we've seen her kiss before.
That's a good question. Is she still a college student in this one? Because she seems younger.
I don't know. I don't know. Do
I'm
they
not
still
sure
own the
either.
house in the other from the movie? Do they still own that
The old country.
castle? Yeah, the old country
It's a good
castle.
question. Um, so Herman asks them to go anywhere else since they are in his way, and Lily asks if you sure you don't want just a tiny little bit of help.
Mhm.
Herman says, "I'm going to say the same thing you say to me. Too many cooks spoil the critter fritters." So he then rushes out to finish getting the groceries, leaving Lily to stare at over 10 bags that he has already brought in, thrown throughout the scene. We get some interesting transition music here that I didn't mind. It was very 80s.
What was it?
Uh,
I didn't pay attention to that, I guess.
you're asking me to recreate some
Yeah.
sounds.
Yeah, just make the sound. Try and do it with your mouth.
All right. Marilyn comes. Marilyn comes running down
Is
the
your
stairs.
wife under your desk right now or something?
Why'd you have to take it there? Marilyn comes running down. You realize a lot of people my parents know are starting to listen to this show.
You're married. You're a married man. Who cares?
Yeah, but it's also mostly audio listeners. There's no.
All right, let's go.
All
Marilyn
right.
does what
Marilyn comes
now?
running down the stairs. Yeah. She's like, "Hey, look, I got a high enough score that I could tell Dylan to ask me on a date."
Oh, it's because of Super Magazine. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Eddie gets his first appearance this episode by opening up a cabinet door and saying he will tell Dustin he needs to call in sick, and gives the most evil of laughs
Then she slams the door right
right
in
into his
his
face.
face.
Lily tells him to get out and get ready for Dad's dinner. Eddie,
Yeah,
Dad made it? Yuck. And shuts the door again.
yeah.
She tells him he's going to eat it
Well,
and
he said
deal with
Pop.
it.
He said Pop made it. So I'm really liking the him as Eddie because Jason is. I mean, we've only seen him in these 2 episodes so far, but he actually, I feel he's Eddie. You know.
Yeah. And what we have learned, the brief stuff we've learned from our mutual friend who runs the Munsters Today group,
Mhm.
is that Eddie will be going through some sort of puberty arc in this show. So it's
Yeah.
interesting to know that's coming and see him being a little bit defiant in this episode.
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah, I can see that. So they go to eat.
well, Grandpa first tries to sneak upstairs, and Lily's like, "No, you get in there with the rest of us and suffer."
Which only it's funny because all right, so we get to the dinner table. Herman
Which
brings
is
out the food.
different.
Yeah, it's a little it's a lot smaller. It's a more
It's an oval
compact.
instead of a giant rectangle.
It's more compact table too. So there's not so much space.
Yeah.
They're shooting from the end of the table too instead of from the side of the table
Mhm.
as the camera angle.
So
Which
what
is
does Herman serve them?
dude, I wrote here in my note, what WTF did Herman make? It's like Play-Doh food.
It looks like blue sausages.
And then I was like, also, is this his perfect way to make sure she never asks him to make food again?
Maybe.
Because that is like that's something they would have done in like a 90s sitcom, is the guy would have made the shittiest food possible so he never has to make food again. And then like his wife would find out and then he'd be screwed and then he'd have to make dinner like for the rest of his life. I feel that's like a storyline from like King of Queens or some shit like that.
Yeah, that would fit perfectly with King of Queens. God, I love that show.
But
Yes,
yeah,
Lily is,
so it's Play-Doh food, dude. It
yeah,
literally looked
she's
like
scared to
Play-Doh.
eat it, and literally everyone else is kind of just staring at her.
And she's the only one that eats it too. Like no
Yeah,
one else gets it on their plate. He's like,
and
well, and she,
it glues her mouth shut.
I think it's like it was like a rubber cement type solution almost.
So she like says that with her teeth like shut to Herman, who then
Yeah.
relates that to Grandpa and says, I don't know what she means. And Grandpa immediately jumps up with an oil can and like oils her mouth.
Yeah. Cleans her out real good. And now she can talk. And she's like, see, now Herman, now I can talk. I'm
Yeah,
fine.
see now I'm
She's very nice about this. If that was my wife, oh boy. She probably would have
yeah.
been kicking my ass and not worrying about getting her mouth undone first.
But Herman, needless to say, is dejected and slams his fist down on the stove,
Mhm.
saying he will never be ready for the competition. He
Perfect
does this
placement.
several.
Perfect placement for a darn if they would have done it.
Yes, we did get one of his other ones though in this episode. I think he says "goody goody" at some point.
Mm. Yeah.
I didn't put it in my notes, but I remember hearing it. So Grandpa tells him to never say never. Say you're gonna win.
Yeah.
I have no idea what impression Grandpa is doing during this, but then he begins telling the story about Mama Medusa. And is this a nickname for Lily's mom in this version? Is
It's
this a different
I think it's
lady?
supposed to be like her like a great grandmother or some shit like that is what they said.
Oh, okay. Well, she
Yeah.
was the most famous cook of her day. Nobody who tried her Transylvania surprise ever lived to regret it, which could be go many ways. Lily then goes, "That's it. You should make the Transylvania surprise."
Yeah. I
Herman
love how
is
they're
it.
getting into Greek characters now though too with the Medusa.
Yeah, I know you.
When
I know you're
when
into the.
Herman's freaking Play-Doh food actually looked like Medusa's hair almost.
Yeah. Herman is excited, asking if they would really let him use Mama's recipe. Grandpa goes, "Why not?" She said it's so simple and any could do it. Then, in a more serious tone, he immediately changes and goes, that makes me think he just said this so that he could test the theory. He goes, "Now we can prove it." Herman is so excited he screams, "Goody!" Oh, I did put it down and stomps, causing the ceiling to fall in. Grandpa
Okay.
just can't remember why it's called surprise.
Yeah.
Oh, and we'll find out. So, at the table, Lily is excited because it looks just like the old dish. She pours some bat milk, and at first I was not going to make a note of this at all, but then the cups begin levitating one after another into the sky as she pours them. Uh, what? Bat milk didn't do that in the 60s. What did they put in it now?
Um I don't know. Maybe
They're
it's
putting some
fresh.
weird ingredients.
It's super fresh bat milk, so it still has the flight of a bat, even though
Yeah,
that's not how
maybe.
bats fly.
No, not at all. They toast to Herman, and Lily digs in. She claims it's even better than Mama Medusa's. Eddie tries some and howls. Marilyn comes in saying that she thinks she is going to die and is hyperventilating. Grandpa says, "No, this is actually good, believe it or not." I love Grandpa's just, I don't give a crap attitude this entire episode.
Yeah.
Uh,
He
she
doesn't
goes,
seem like he cares at all about anything,
"No, not at all. He's just there."
which is perfect. Um,
Remember that episode? He was just doing stuff in the background the entire episode. We never found out what he was up to.
yeah, yeah. The one where it looked like some of the stuff they shot, he wasn't even there when everyone else was. It was like Grandpa had the day off.
He's just doing whatever. Oh yeah. She goes, "That's nice," but she asked Dustin to take her out, and he said yes. They will be going out tomorrow night. And Herman says, "But that's the competition." Marilyn reminds him that Dustin's mom is the judge, and Herman tells her not to tell her, not to tell her that he's entering. They all know how much she likes him. Lily toasts to Herman again. Herman tells Grandpa he remembers the recipe perfectly, and Grandpa, still looking unhappy, says, "I'm not so sure." Something is gnawing away at him, and not in a good way. And then his drink tries to escape again.
Yeah. I do like, I will say, how this episode here, at least, it seems like there's time going throughout the show. It's not like it feels like, it doesn't feel like it's all happening in one day. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
Herman is learning how to bake. He's doing this, and apparently they've already met Dustin's mom and stuff like that in some fashion, whether it be throughout town or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So it feels
And
like at least what they do, it feels like they've done more in it.
yeah, I like when they do um kind of going back to when Grandpa was just randomly doing stuff in the background,
Mhm.
not act anything to do with the main story at all. It makes the world feel lived in.
Yeah.
Like, you know, where they have and a lot of the original show had some comments as well where they talk to some of the neighbors, they know them by name and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So I really appreciate stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we get a new shot, the shot of the
Uh,
exterior of whatever school Marilyn is attending. We don't know what it is.
yeah. It's
So
it has to be a college, right? It has to be like
I
a
would
community
think so,
college or something. I don't know.
but I kind of have the feeling they aged her down again like they did in the movie.
Why didn't Marilyn's parents come looking for them for 22 years?
That's true. Where the hell is Lily's sister?
What the hell? Now that I just thought about that.
That's a good
Wow.
question.
Wow.
That's the sad question. They don't care
Well,
their
I
daughter
guess
disappeared.
they don't worry about people as we
All
wish.
right, no, no, no. We get a shot of the contest participants all gathered around chanting when the bell. I think I screwed up here. I have bell fins. I
Belfins?
maybe I meant rings, and then the contest begins.
The
I
bell
don't know.
rings.
Anyway,
No, the bell doesn't ring and the contest begins. The contest doesn't start until she pulls out her stupid little red thing and just goes like this.
oh well, what the hell was I? I can't decipher my own notes.
Yeah, I
Uh,
have no idea what you're talking about.
Herman. Oh, go
Yeah,
ahead.
go on.
Herman comes in, greeting her, and she is not pleased to see
No,
him.
no.
She
Uh,
thanks most of them for coming out. Herman says, "My pleasure." And she gets a look on her face like, ugh. Everyone begins staring at him, and Lily says it's probably his hat. So he takes it off to make them feel more comfortable. Herman is still a man of the people, and I love that.
mhm.
The contest begins with Herman in the first round. Herman cracks
He's a man of the dead people too, by the way.
some eggs and just puts all of them in a blender.
Tivis ignores everything I say, guys. This is not
He
fun
then
anymore.
fills it
This
with
is
green
becoming a
milk.
not fun show to do because Tivis doesn't acknowledge anything I say.
He puts eggs and shells in this blender with green milk. Uh,
Yes. No,
and then
so it's funny because he pulls
yeah,
everything out of his pockets. He pulls the eggs out. One egg cracked in his pot. I wonder if that was on accident too.
I bet it was.
And so then he
He
puts one
plays
egg
it so
down on
well
the
though.
he puts them down on the counter and he puts one down and that cracks on the counter. So then he cracks all of them on the counter and then he uses the turkey baster or something to suck it up and throw them all into
Even
the
though he's just gonna
blender.
shovel it in there anyway.
And then he shovels it all there. I was like, just throw them all in the blender.
I have
And
to wonder if they said, improv.
yeah, just do whatever.
Yeah.
Make it funny. And then he grabs some it looked like eggnog because it was thick. It wasn't like milk. Grab some eggnog and put it in there because it was also like a green tint to it. I don't know
Yeah,
what,
it's green milk. Star Wars.
but it was thick. It was a
Star
thicker.
Wars.
Yeah.
Oh,
What are those aliens called?
yeah, no.
Who went out and milked that thing?
I know
Luke,
blue comes
no.
from the banthas, I believe.
um, and then I knew this was gonna happen too. The second he tried to turn the blender on, I was like, oh, I bet you he like
Oh, I
plugs it
didn't
into
expect this at
himself.
all.
And
It's
he
so good.
takes the electrical cable, instead of plugging it into an Edison outlet, he touches it to his bolt, and then he looks over and he's like, y'all should start getting going. You're gonna not
Yeah.
have it done in time. Like,
If
what's
you want to
going
make the
on?
time limit. Yeah. He's so nice. Oh.
Uh,
So yeah.
and then we go to back to the house where
Yeah.
Marilyn and Dustin are hanging out.
Yeah.
And
Dustin tries to get fresh.
he's trying to kiss her. He's trying really hard, and she's going pretty good about not doing. And I'm not sure if this is like a thing for like younger boys or what, but I mean, I remember being a younger boy, and if I could tell, like, you can tell if somebody doesn't want you to kiss them at that point in time. Like, if you go in and they just like pull
Leap
back
off the couch.
or leap off or anything, you kind of like get it in your mind, even as like a 16-year-old boy or something, like 13, even shit. Like, you understand how people are reacting. I don't understand why they continually put this in the shows. Like, they still do it in shows today too, where boys are doing that, and it's kind of like they're telling the world of boys that you were supposed to be this aggressive, because what happens later, he gets what he wanted anyways. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's kind of a bad sign to do. Like, I understand what they're going for. Like, oh, it's funny because she's turning him down, but I'm like, is it though? Because and this is coming from a guy who very promiscuous when I was younger, but I never did that to a girl, you know. Like, I was never like, here, let me make out with you, even though you don't want to make out with me. No, that was never the case. Half the time it was me backing away from some girls because I was like, I don't know where your lips have been.
So yeah, so we get the scene. Dustin
That one got him.
She leaps up and says, my grandpa is still here watching us. And Dustin gets super sad. But then Marilyn says he's out back tending to his toadstools. He gets super excited. And then he tries to kiss her again. She leans away and he gets upset that she keeps avoiding him. And she says she's just waiting for her instincts. And he then says, well, let's see if we both can hear them.
Let's be really quiet. He's like, let's be super quiet so we can see if we can both hear them.
Which is clearly an innuendo, but the raven pops out, begins singing. The boar starts spitting out dust, and Spot opens the stairs and starts breathing fire.
Yeah.
Marilyn yells at them to shut up. As Grandpa comes in saying they have a catastrophe, Dustin says, we didn't even kiss yet. Marilyn introduces Dustin to Grandpa, who says, nice to meet you. Now follow me.
Yeah,
we need to get to that contest.
We got to stop them before they eat the what is it, the best or the Transylvania surprise. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so Grandpa doesn't say why, but they need to get there. Back at the contest, Herman finishes his surprise. Lily tells Dee Dee, who is Dustin's mom, by the way, that she will be surprised by Herman's cooking. Sorry, that cucumber's fighting. She replies that if it's an endangered species, she will freak. She starts with Herman, who is in the middle of two people, but sure, whatever. We'll go straight to Herman. I guess get the worst out of the way first. I get it. She is surprised by how good it is. Grandpa then arrives and is not happy to see he's too late.
He walks up. He's like, did she eat it? He's like, yeah. And she's like,
well, first he turns to Dustin and just says, stay. Yeah. And then he goes up and he comes back. He's like, hey,
he whispers something in Marilyn's ear. And then Marilyn turns around and she's like, kiss me. Like,
my instincts are here.
My instincts are here now because clearly Grandpa told her.
Marilyn understands what's about to happen.
She understood the assignment, as they say.
And then Dee Dee
turns into a duck. Yes. Darkwing Duck. When there's trouble, you call DW. Darkwing Duck. Wrong show.
Then we're back at the house. They give her the antidote, and Grandpa asks why he didn't tell her. Herman asked Grandpa, why he didn't tell him this would happen. Grandpa says, I couldn't remember the antidote. That's more of a reason to tell them. What the hell, old man? Um,
Yeah, he I don't think that he knew it would happen. I think he just forgot yeah. I don't know.
yeah, but
But
his
the
literal
antidote
excuse is I couldn't remember the antidote.
but what's the antidote?
I don't know. It's something he puts down the duck's mouth.
It is the bat's milk, because that's why they didn't transform, because they ate it with the bat's milk.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, that's what he says. He says that he because they're like, well, why didn't we transform in the ducks? Which Herman as a duck? Could you imagine a Herman duck, a Frankenstein monster duck,
Frankenstein duck.
a Frankenstein monster duck?
Nope, Frankenstein duck.
We can do this all day.
We can, but we can't.
All right, yeah. So it's turns out the antidote is the bat's milk.
And Dustin
Let me
and
see
Marilyn
here.
arrive. Dustin is very upset that his mom just left.
Yeah. And
Uh,
he walks in and his I don't know if you notice. So as she's a duck, she's sitting on Herman's lap, and he's like petting her deck deck neck duck neck right here up by her head, and she turns into a human, and she's still petting the human neck. Like he has his hand around her throat and doing this, and she freaks the hell out. And I was just like, holy shit. Like I didn't think they were actually gonna have him still have his hand on her. I thought it was gonna be like
that
some
is a
I
nice
dream of
touch. I
Jeannie
didn't
stuff.
notice
So
that.
that was pretty cool. I was like, dang.
So,
And
you
then
know,
she's freaking out. She's like, I don't even know how I got here. And go ahead.
So Lily's like, well, you liked Herman's dish so much, you know, you were excited to come back with us.
Yeah.
And Didi says, why would I ever want to return to this house?
She's like, I had the sudden urge to go north.
They mentioned that the family had dinner with them in the past. So Dustin and his mom. So nice continuity there. So Herman says, you know, because you like us. Didi begins having an anxiety attack and quacking. Herman asked about his food, and she says that unbelievably, he'll probably win. Herman says that, you know, hey, well, I'll drive you back to the competition in my hearse. She hears that, starts freaking out even more. Herman says they can eat leftovers. Grandpa then begins freaking out, saying, grab the buckets. They have to go too. Dustin and Marilyn are alone and begin kissing as the raven sings again. Spot shoots fire, and I have to assume the pig is shooting dust again.
Yeah. But this time he doesn't freak out, and it's actually a really nice scene. I think it's a nice scene. It was a cool scene with that one. And you know, she actually enjoys the kiss this time. It's not like being forced on or anything like
under
that.
duress.
Yeah. So the mom, before she leaves, she's like, I am freaking. I am totally froken.
Yeah.
That one made me laugh. I was like, oh, that's funny as hell. I have no clue what it means, but it's funny. And that was my last note on there, is the I am freaking. I am totally froken. Someone should put froken on a shirt. I'm froken now. Is that like fucking broken or freaking broken? It has to be. It has to be.
So Herman, we get a last scene here in the house with Herman trying to play chess with Lily, but she's bored of it after 106 wins in a row. Herman says it's only 105. She then moves a piece and says 106. So he gets up and moves to the couch, which this is a thing with Herman. Remember Mini Munsters? He lost the spot. So he's trying.
Yeah.
So he moves to the couch, all sad. She then says, let's take this quiz. What's your idea of a dream date? Herman goes, well, we would get all dolled up, catch an early funeral, stop by and rent Friday the 13th. And Lily goes, but we've already seen that one. He says, oh, I know. We put it on for Eddie and then head upstairs. And Lily's like, well, why don't we get moving on this dream date? And they run upstairs.
Yeah. Which that also makes me question, you know, how how long have they been in the 80s if they've already watched Friday the 13th, you know?
Yeah. So it was an interesting ending. Uh, Thoughts on this first episode?
I enjoyed it. I laughed. I I laughed, so that's a good thing. Um Grandpa seems to be just like Grandpa. Like these characters are starting to develop into their own, of course, because it is a
Mm,
completely, it's 2 decades later, you know. I'm not going to expect it to be the exact same thing. And unfortunately, I think that's what some people do when they watch these. They totally forget the decade thing. Like we've progressed as people or regressed, whichever way you want to look at it, depending on uh who you are. And you know, the times change, things change, lingos change, shit like that. So of course, like some of the things they do are not going to match exactly with the original 60s show. And I'm 100% okay with that because this is a family of monsters adapting to you know, America still, while also having to adapt to time travel now. So it's like, of course they're not going to be the same, you know.
yeah.
I Yeah. uh,
Is it
uh
time travel or just hibernation?
to them it's just like time travel.
It's hibernation,
It's one way time travel.
which theoretically is the only way you can time travel, but that's a whole nother topic. Yeah, I really enjoyed. This was a very nice, like, I mean, pilot aside, this was a great introduction to the characters. I am fully on board for this Herman just with this episode alone. I thought New Maryland did a wonderful job with the character. They're doing a great job, kind of, well, maybe not a great job, but they're doing a decent job with the whole, fish out of water, out of time type uh, story with
Yeah.
Herman here. I can't wait to get more with Grandpa because I felt like he was the one underused in this, and Eddie was barely in it at all.
Yeah.
So Grandpa and Eddie are two I can't wait to get more of. But as for like with Marilyn, especially with the original show, she is so underrepresented. It was great that this one was a Maryland focused story, pretty much.
Well, it's still like a Herman focused story, but Marilyn was the sub story for this one, I would
Yeah,
say.
well, she's in the spotlight, which is
Yeah.
not something we got a lot of at all up till now.
Yeah. Yeah. And and again, it comes down to, you know, this right here, Vampire Pie was the first episode of this show that anyone got
Mhm.
to see, um besides like studio execs and shit like that that saw the unaired pilot. But in the 80s, this would have been the first thing. This is your first taste into the Munsters of the 80s. So knowing that, where do you go with that? Forget the pilot, forget you even
Yeah.
saw the pilot. What do you think? Like, would this have made you continue watching the show if you weren't like, because I remember the 60s was 20 years out and
Yeah.
it wasn't necessarily in
This is a whole new
circulation.
generation. We
Yeah.
didn't have like a lot of
Well, there
stuff like
wasn't like,
TV Land where they would
yeah.
repeat stuff.
Yeah, so there wasn't like necessarily a lot of areas where the original Munsters was in circulation. So some people were also literally just kids or in their 20s watching this show. Would you continue watching it if that was the case for yourself?
Absolutely. Even if this is the only Munster stuff that ever existed, I would
Mhm.
continue watching because, I mean, again, this is me though. I am a sitcom
Yeah.
like fanatic. I love sitcoms, and this it presented me with everything I love
Mhm.
about sitcoms. So, yeah, I'm in.
Yeah. Same. I agree. I liked it, and it kind of reminds me of like dinosaurs, the puppeted one, in a way. So
Oh, yeah,
I
that
love
show.
that show. That's a sitcom, just so people know. It is a
The
sitcom. The
fucking
not the mama.
most morbid ending of any show ever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so let's jump into this little spotlight I have for John Shuck.
Okay. and this is Herman.
Herman. Yep.
Which I do want to point out, because I know you're watching Enterprise right now, Star Trek Enterprise, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Somewhat. He is in 2 episodes of that too.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that.
Okay, sorry. All
No,
right,
no, that's fine.
go ahead with your.
I always got to point out Trek people. So, John was born February 4th, 1940. So he was in his 20s by the time the Munsters aired.
Mhm.
His first acting credit was in the Glory Hallelujah episode of NET or Net Playhouse, which aired on Halloween 1969. His second credit was Captain Painless Wadowski in 1970 MASH. He was in 2 episodes of Gunsmoke, 1 episode of Mission Impossible, 1 episode of the Mary Tyler Moore Show, an episode of Room 22, and Bonanza. And as for Myke here, he was in 1 episode of Voyager as part of a choir or a chorus,
Mm-hmm.
and 2 episodes of Enterprise, which I am excited to get to, but I'm far off because I'm only in the first season, and he appears in season 4.
Mm-hmm.
But he has a very long and interesting career.
He's also in 2 of the movies, I believe, as well, in the original Star Trek movies, films.
Is he?
I believe so, yes.
Let's see. Yeah, Voyage Home as a Klingon ambassador. Komorag.
And he would be the same character in the other one.
Deep Space Nine. Oh, he was in Deep Space Nine.
Yeah. So he was a Trekkie through and through.
Oh yeah. So it's yeah. He's got a lot of, like I said, interesting stuff. And it's just interesting that his second credit was on MASH of all things. Like,
if you look awesome. if you look at John Shook too, without the makeup on, and him and Jeff Daniel Phillips are very comparable in looks almost.
Yeah, kind of. I could also see a resemblance to Fred Gwynn, honestly. Yeah. I don't know why they gave him this giant forehead for the show, but it's whatever. His acting is real good. I think I'm starting to be affected by this cucumber, dude. It's starting to get warm. But he was also the voice of Reptar in Rugrats.
Okay. So what do you got for us on them besides that?
Everything I just said.
Okay. Well, you said you were doing your dive into them, so I just didn't know if you're doing more. Oh, my arm is
well, he has 4 awards. If you want to hear about those.
Sure. What awards?
In 2004, he was leading actor for the Award of Excellence at Accolade competition for String of the Kite. In 2016, leading actor in Tale of the Kite, Award of Excellence for Best Shorts competition. Best Actor for Tale of the Kite in 2017 for Glendale International Film Festival. And leading actor in Tale of the Kite 2017 for Indie Fest USA International Film Festival. So Tale of the Kite is a movie that we should probably look into, as well as String of the Kite.
Okay. So, and this is a really cool information on him as well. He is the first actor to ever use the F word in a major motion picture film. And that would have been MASH.
What an accolade. That
was MASH in the 70s. So, fuck yeah for him. Yeah, that was a really cool one. Not a really cool one, but something that stuck out to me. I was like, really? I would have felt like there would have been one before that, but it does say major motion picture. So
yeah, he was also into musicals. He appeared semi-regularly on stage. I couldn't think of the word, between 79 and 2006. So,
okay.
Yeah, like I said, his career is just all over the place. He's got a wide range of talent, and I'm so glad that I was able to get into his Herman right off the bat here, because that pilot was.
Yeah.
I meant to mention his dad was an English professor who taught at Princeton.
Okay.
So, he's well versed. That probably helped him a lot with his acting.
For all of you Princeton graduates out there, that's awesome. I found a personal quote from him as well. He said, "It's much more fun to come in and do the other stuff. A, you don't have to work as hard, and but B, the parts are much more interesting. I would much rather play the character roles I do than the leading guy. I would much wow." This punctuation, people, punctuation. I would much rather play the character roles I do than play the leading guy. As long as you're able, you can keep working. Longevity is terrific.
Yep. And to everyone who was using character acting as a negative for all the people in Rob Zombie's movie, fuck you. Character actors are the best. And that's all I got to say today.
At least they're acting and not just playing themselves like a lot of actors do nowadays. Dwayne.
Yeah, but that's what I like about him, so I can't get upset.
All right. Anything else then for this episode, dude? You got
Nope.
anything else that you want to talk about?
I shot my bolt. I'm good.
Okay. Well, then I would like to remind everyone, do check out patreon.com/TheMunsterCast. There you can join in our Discord, and we are trying to upload each week as we're talking about these episodes. They will be into the Discord platform there for you guys to check out, so you can watch along with us, since we do know it's a little harder to find some of these episodes. I'm sure somebody out there has a link somewhere to something, but this is just something that we can do to give back to everybody out there in the Munster family for sure. And then, of course, you can always go to TheMunsterCast.com and check out everything that we're doing, everything that we're saying. Maybe leave some messages, voice messages. There's a little microphone on one of the sides of the page. You can click that, leave a voice message. Let us know if you want us to utilize that within the show, so we can shout you guys out or anything like that. We would love to share more Munsters family with everybody throughout. And then you can also go to the MunsterCast at outlook.com and send us an email there. That's it. That's all I got, man. That's all I got. Yeah. And then, of course, if you want to get a Munsters Cast shirt, go to munstercast.com/merch. Again, all these things can be found on the munstercast.com website, and you can go through all that fun shit there.
And join us next week as we talk a little Russian dressing.
There you go. We were having technical difficulties for a second. Next week, a little Russian dressing aired October 15th, 1988. So that's pretty cool. And that's all I got, man. I have nothing else left for this episode besides asking Tivis. You got any final words?
You forgot what show we were doing. Munsters Today, starting out strong. I'm super excited to get into the rest of this. So, like I told you earlier this week, I cannot wait for the next recording. I can't, just because I want to watch the damn thing.
Right. That sounds good, man.
Also, I like talking to you, I guess,
Yeah. Hopefully next week I'll be a little more energetic. I'm very tired, not sleeping the last few days. So, I got to just tell everybody out there, thank you for sticking along with us, and we hope that you enjoy the Munsters Today content, whether you're watching with us or just listening to us talk about it. We know it's not one that everybody out there loves or cares for, but you know what, we're still doing it because one, we want to watch it, we want to enjoy it, and we love it, and we do know there are other fans out there of this show as well. So just be respectful to everybody, especially in the comments on our social media threads as we post more imagery and stuff like that for the Munsters Today. We don't want any infighting within the Munster family. We love all you guys, and we would hate to see all of that fun stuff. We saw way too much of it when Rob Zombie's film came out, so we don't want to see any more of it, you know.
Yeah, get too disrespectful though, and I have no problem hitting you with a band hammer. We want nothing to do with you if you're going to be that negative.
Yeah, so just keep that in mind when you guys are talking to everybody about this stuff, and we hope that we can create a fun, safe space for everybody to come and talk about the Munsters and Munsters adjacent stuff, because we will be talking some more of other like what do they call them, universal monster creatures, things like that, some stuff like that. So look forward to that stuff coming out on YouTube. That's youtube.com/@TheMunsterCast. And with that said, guys, we will catch you next time as we take another stroll down 1313 Mockingbird Lane.
Mockingbird Lane.
I want you to learn is it doesn't matter what you look like. You can be tall or short, or fat or thin, or ugly, or handsome, like your father. Or you can be black or yellow or white. It doesn't matter. What does matter is the size of your heart and the strength of your character.